Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video on this lovely, quiet Sunday afternoon. What has otherwise been an extremely busy weekend. We saw Newcastle United launch our new Adidas kits. I am wearing Castore, I know, don't you worry. Slowly but surely the shirts will start to make the change over to Adidas. And then last night, we had the Cellar Newcastle show down on the Baltic Quayside. Did do a video for that if you haven't seen it, so be sure to go and check it out. And then as well, I made my Disney debut this weekend, believe it or not. Welcome to Wrexham, the Ryan Reynolds, Rob McElhenney show that's on season 3, episode 7. I'll be perfectly honest, I've not watched it since the first few episodes came out, but apparently they used some of my content on there, actually from the Newcastle-Sunderland derby, when they were basically explaining what a derby game is. Apparently they found some videos of mine and put them on there without me knowing about it. So I will be getting in touch with Ryan Reynolds. Don't you worry about that. Getting him over on my channel as a given to me. But I will post some stuff about that on my Instagram later on. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, that's today's plug. My Instagram, link down in the description. Post on there all the time. I'll put some of the photos and videos from my Disney debut. There you go. But I say it's been a quiet weekend in the world of Newcastle. It's never really quiet, and following a mad couple of days, we are back onto transfers, transfer windows, and lots of unhappy Newcastle fans this morning, as it's heavily linked that the young lad, Yankuba Minteh, who we bought last summer, who we sent out on loan to Feyenoord, 19 years old, 7 million, he cost us absolutely blazing it over there, is being linked away from the football club. So we need to discuss that in this video. But one thing that has come out is that Newcastle have reportedly made our first, I was going to say transfer bid. Lloyd Kelly, obviously he's a free, so technically speaking, we haven't bid or paid anything for him, assuming that he will become a Newcastle player very, very soon. But reported by the Mail and followed up by a few other reports, Newcastle have put in a £16 million bid for James Trafford. Now, it's thought that Burnley will actually reject the bid, as they are wanting closer to, well, I've seen 20 million, but I've also seen 30 million. And bear in mind, look, I think Burnley themselves paid around 15 million. Manchester City have a 20% fee clause. So whatever we pay Man City get 20%. So if we pay Burnley 15 million, they lose money because they have to give 20% of it to Man City. So they are always going to want to push to make sure that at least they get their money back. If we're coming in around 20 million, then they're kind of getting their money back and they're giving the rest over to Manchester City. Having said that, is James Trafford worth that right now? Obviously, going from Man City to Burnley, young goalkeeper, very, very highly thought of. I mean, he is in the England squad as the number 3 goalkeeper right now. Went to Burnley to fight it out in a relegation battle. Didn't actually get a game in the end because I think it was possibly just too much too soon. I saw a fantastic stat online on Twitter. It was Sanjay who put it on. Go check him out if you like. And it was basically about where goalkeepers were at his age. Nick Pope was playing for York in League 2 when he was 21. I think it was about Edison, Allison, and where, generally speaking, goalkeepers get better with age. You know, goalkeepers often play longer than other players. I think it's fair to say that the lad needs a little bit more time till he's 100% ready. So him coming in as number 2 behind Nick Pope, I don't think is bad, actually. The trouble is when you start going 20 million, 25 million, 30 million, and we're linked to a Mamadashvili at Valencia for 35, 40 million, you're going, well, should we not just push the boat now? Because that's the thing, is that does Nick Pope want to be number 2? If Mamadashvili came in, he would really be number 1, and then you're having to talk about letting Pope go. If Trafford comes in for the lower fee, 15 million, sits behind Pope for a year or two, really builds up, fulfills the potential that clearly people think he has. Southgate obviously thinks it, Burnley think it. I mean, he was at Manchester City. I think it could be shrewd, because in a year's time when Pope's kind of pulling away, Trafford walks in and he does the business, but you just never really know. I think the trouble is as the price goes up and up and Burnley want more and more, you're thinking, should we just push the boat out and go for a Mamadashvili or someone who is a little bit more proven at their current moment in their career? But it's understood Burnley are thought to reject it, and Newcastle may be having a little bit more of a talk on that one. So we'll see what happens there. There is also links to a current Newcastle player leaving, and it is Sean Longstaff. Reports coming out this morning that Leicester could well be interested in the player for around 15 million. Now, bearing in mind, if I'm not mistaken, Leicester are thought to potentially be getting a -10 or minus so many points coming into the Premier League because of overspend. So it's never to say that teams don't have money or have been able to recoup money, but I just thought it was interesting that straight away a team who allegedly has no money is now finding enough for it to buy Sean Longstaff. And 15 million, you'll have to let me know down below. We've spoken about this before, and we're going to come on to it a second with Minteh. Don't you worry about that. Homegrown player, it's 15 million, so it's times 5 in terms of like ability to spend, because Longstaff came through the ranks. The thing is, we're hopefully going to have quite a lot of midfielders next season. Bruno, Joe Linton, Tonali's back, Anderson, Miley will hopefully be fit. You know, we're going to have a lot of players in there. And without Europe, the hope is that we won't be quite as strained as a squad. We hopefully won't have the injury troubles that we had last season. And with that in mind, for a 3-man midfield, do we need 6? And if you're going to let go of any of them, it's not Tonali, it's not Bruno, it's not Joe Linton. It's definitely not Miley. Anderson, Longstaff. I would possibly say that Elliot Anderson has a higher ceiling than Longstaff over the next few years. But having said that, this is what I'm going to come on to with Minteh, is that I don't mind Longstaff being in the squad. I think, we've seen it when he isn't injured and he's not being overworked, to come in as a squad player behind them, do the dirty, maybe not play him in the game. We know Eddie Howe plays him all the time, really in a game when we're going to have all the ball, we want to go attack, get Anderson in, get more of Miley in. It's the games where we are going to have to work hard and we are going to have to do a lot of running. Longstaff can play in those games, and when he's not being overplayed, I think he can do a good job. And you've also got to have players who don't mind sitting on the bench sometimes, and I think Longstaff, a Geordie lad who's worked hard and probably wants to stay here his whole career, to let him go and possibly have to bring somebody else in the future. It's the homegrown rule for next season in Europe when we hopefully get there. There's loads of stuff to it, and I think for me it's more the frustration that the consideration around selling Longstaff for me isn't because you guys might tell me different, because look, he didn't play great this season, and I would not be surprised if a lot of you guys are in the comments going, get him out, which I can understand as well. But for me, there is benefits of keeping a player like Longstaff. He's from the area, he probably doesn't mind sitting on the bench sometimes. He won't be on 80, 90, 100 grand like Bruno, like Joe Linton. It's fair enough to say we'll sell him for 15 million is probably on like 30 grand a year, which by all means a week, which by all means is loads, but in the terms of football it's not. And to have him happy and available is good for us. If we go out and sell Longstaff for 15 million, what even like for a squad player, who are you getting for 15 million? It's really tough. It will be really tough. And to also get a player who's going to get paid, 30 grand a week as opposed to 50, 60, 70, which everybody expects. So there's positives to Longstaff. What I don't like is that we're getting pushed down that route because of FFP. Like, for me, I don't see us putting him on the market and going, please, come and get him. It's more, we're considering these options. I think the likes of a Trippier, if bids come in for him, I don't want to see him go, but I think considerations will have to happen because of all this malarkey. And it brings us on to Yankuba Minteh. Deep breath. I blew a gasket. Well, you know me. As far as I can blow a gasket. I had to take some time to really understand what the hell was going on with this Yankuba Minteh stuff. And it's exactly that. In what world have Newcastle spent 7 million on a player? We have billionaire owners. We've spent 7 million on a young lad to give him a go and see what happens. Like, I appreciate that the amount that he's valued at and the reports coming out, 30, 40 million, as much as Newcastle could potentially sell him for. And look, as I've just mentioned with going out and buying players, it's so inflated for everyone. He scored 10 goals for Feyenoord this season. His stock is extremely high. He's 19 years old. I think we could well get that amount of money. But let's forget the 40 million. We paid 7. So our loss, technically, even if we gave him away, would be 7 million. Like, that is nothing in terms of football, in terms of billionaire owners, for a punt, really, on a young lad to give him a go and hopefully bring him to Newcastle and big him up. He's not even played a game yet. And because of these rules, we are having to consider letting him go. It's highly infuriating because it's a player that I think as fans we have kind of watched with one eye to see how he's getting on. It's exciting. It is exciting. I think I was going to say it's exciting for Geordies and Newcastle. It's probably exciting for all football fans. You know, for a young player to be up and coming. It's one thing to go out and spend loads of money on players, but even Eddie Howe said this, you know, you can talk about an Isaac. Yes, we paid 60, 70 million for him, but he's worth 140 now. We paid 30, 40 million for Bruno, he's worth 100 now. You know, it's a great feeling to go out and splash the cash, but it's also a great feeling to kind of unearth some, like, hidden gems. Not that they were that hidden, but I think Minteh kind of was. And I know 7 million for an 18-year-old, you know, that could have quite easily have gone the other way and we would have lost 7 mil. But we wouldn't have been rewarded for that in the world of FFP either. So really, it's like, you know, do or don't. Like, there was no real win here in the terms that we're now considering of selling him. I mean, the other side of the coin, which I will say, as I always try to do, is he's gone out of Feyenoord and been amazing. His stock has gone from there to there. He scored for Gambia yesterday. He scored for his under-21s, I think. He scored an international goal. I think he's got 10 goals, however many assists for Feyenoord. You know, the one there, like, equivalent of the FA Cup out there. He's clearly doing well. There's interest from clubs all around Europe. They reckon Liverpool's interested. We're not selling it to him. It'll be someone over in Europe. We're not going to empower one of our rivals. And it's clear that the money is there for us to go and get right now. We could bring him to Newcastle and he might not hit the grade. Or it might take him a season or two to do it. By that point, we have gone out and bought some other players. You know, so it's football and nothing's easy and you can never predict the future and it's hindsight. We turned down 10 million for Callum Wilson in the January and he didn't play a game since then. You know, and now it's likely that he's going to leave this summer and probably not for 10 million. You know, we turned 15 million down for Kieran Trippier, and although I've said I want to keep him, he didn't exactly do great when he came back. He's been injured as well, so it's easy with hindsight in the terms of Yankuba Minteh. I think for the sake of 7 million, I know it's 40 if we're selling, but the 7 million is what we paid. It's worth holding on to him to see how good he can be. But then the other side of the coin is that we don't sell him. God forbid he gets an injury, or God forbid he comes to Newcastle and maybe doesn't quite flourish as he has in a lesser league. Was it worth taking the 40 million? And if we don't do it with Minteh, who are we doing it with? Yeah, I think I understand why it could be considered by Newcastle, but I think it would not be taken well by the fans. And I think it's not that it will be anger at the club or the owners for taking that decision. It's the kind of situation that we've landed ourselves in and having to sell a young, exciting player, and I think, or even just a local lad. Like, go back to the long side. I know some people aren't as keen, but that is not right, you know? Let me know your thoughts down below on the Trafford situation. Would you like to see him come in as a goalie, or if we're going to spend 30 million, should we be looking, you know, at the next step? Or is Trafford a keeper you're keen on and think you will actually go ahead and make it? Sean Longstaff for 15 million, is that a player that, you know, he didn't do great, let's move him on? Or do you think that actually for a squad player, how much he's getting paid and for really what we'd get for him, it's worth keeping a hold of him? But then if we don't sell him, who do we? And is that why this whole Yankuba Minteh stuff's starting to kick off? Because Newcastle's looking around the changing rooms going, well, hang on. Anyone we'll get good money for, we don't want to sell. And everybody else, we're not going to get good money for. But hang on, we've got a young lad who's potentially going to fix a lot of problems if he does go, but I think could well bite us in the backside in a few years' time when he's 21, 22, ripping it up in La Liga for whoever, and we're going, what the hell have we done with that? Let me know your thoughts on the Minteh down in the comments as well. Thank you for watching, guys. Subscribe. Well, you know, check out my Instagram. That's what I said at the start. Go and check out my Instagram. I'll have some photos on later of this whole Disney Channel stuff. So yeah, go and check it out. Thank you for watching, as always. I hope you guys have enjoyed the weekend. and I'll catch you later.